Take me back to the old days.
Hello?
Hi Leif, how are you doing?
I'm okay.
Could you help me out painting 20 of my unpainted Genestealers for my Space Hulk game?
Only 20? Sure, I'll help you out.
Great! Cool! I swing by and drop them off. See you soon!
Hi folks, my name is Leif and I want to welcome you to my YouTube channel called Devs and Dice. This video is a little bit different than the usual ones. You see, a dear friend from work asked me if I could take 20 of his unpainted Genestealers and put some paint on them. And I think this is for first or second edition of Space Hulk. I of course saw this as an excellent opportunity to mix things up for the channel. I have been wanting to expand my miniature painting to more than Reaper and WizKid miniatures. But more importantly, I wanted to help a friend. Now my friend Niklas, being the nicest of people, of course he offered me money to pay me for a commission job. I actually refused, partly because I don't feel that I'm good enough to get paid for painting miniatures. Second of all, I thought it was more important to, again, help a friend. Honestly, I think it's more important than ever to do whatever you can for other people. Just make someone's day a little bit better. Even if it's nerdy things like painting up someone's Genestealers. So this video is a little bit strange, but it will sort of bounce between tutorial and just the learnings of me painting my first batch painting commission job. So without further ado, let's get into it. Alright, so these 20 Genestealers came in an egg carton that Niklas had drawn Space Hulk on. This is a very good way to transport your minis, especially if you don't have any case or something like that. This will keep them somewhat safe. Now all of these 20 minis had slight variations in their pose, but they pretty much looked the same. The quality of older Games Workshop miniatures is still really good. I started with inspecting each and every one of the miniatures just to see, what they looked like. Then I started cleaning off some of the mold lines on the most visible places. Once that was done, I simply superglued the miniature onto the slot base. Now once I had gotten all of the minis on their bases, I went through and just primed them with a Chaos Black from Citadel. Here I'm using Inktense White from Scale Color. This I'm just shooting through the airbrush just to get a nice zenithal prime on all of these models. The idea here is that I wanted this to be a tabletop ready standard, so I'm working pretty fast with this and trying to get as much done as possible. So here I'm thinking of doing this in an assembly way. And that's the final result. So now we have essentially a black and white shaded version of our mini. So at this point it was time to start thinking about the base coat. I went with Canter Blue, which I thinned out a lot using thinner. This I shot through the airbrush, and this would pretty much take care of the leather, the armor, or whatever it is that is not the fleshy bits or clawy bits of Genestealers. Now thanks to the undercoating, we're going to get some nice highlights and shadows. Now just to punch that home a little bit further, I'm going to go in with some Fenrisian Grey and dry brush this pretty much all over the model. This will just pick out some of the highlights which we're going to work with later. Now, in order to remove that dusty look, I'm coming in with some Drakenhof Nightshade, a blue wash from Citadel. Now once that has dried, I'm going to come in with some Bugman's Glow, which I'm going to paint on all of the fleshy bits. And there are plenty of fleshy bits here, and I'm sure I missed some, but again, this is for tabletop ready. And this might require 2 coats. Now somewhere during this, so at this point, I had actually completed one Genestealer, just to sort of show Nicholas what the result would be. And this is actually a great tip for anyone batch painting. Try to finish one model, that way you will know the steps that were required for you to get to that point. But also this gives you an excellent opportunity to get a buy-in from your customer and to manage expectations and remove any unpleasant surprises. Well, usually. See, I did in fact get a surprise. So I took a photo of the completed Genestealer and I sent it to Nicholas, and he replied in a, well, in a positive way. Perhaps too positive.
Hi again, Leif. About the Genestealers you painted, you know, I can't use them with my old ones.
Why not? What's wrong?
The ones you made look so much cooler than the rest of my Genestealers and Terminators. My stuff looks like crap in comparison.
Ah, come on, don't be like that.
I have a suggestion. Why don't you paint the rest as well? It's only about 20 Genestealers and 11 Terminators.
But I mean, they were painted. I would need IPA alcohol.
IPA? No problem. I have a contact in East Germany who owes me a favor. Okay, he will send you a dozen liters. Is that enough?
A dozen? That's more than enough.
I have a bunch of 30-year-old minis and a coffee machine. You can get this payment. Is that the deal?
Sure, man. That sounds great.
Perfect. I'll swing by again. Bye.
Alright, so once I had that set of news, it was pretty much just to start, inspecting the paint job. And I'm not sure what sort of unholy paints Nicholas used, or actually I do know exactly what kind of paints, but let's just say that Nicholas was, in his youth, he was fairly generous with the paint. I've never seen paint this thick on a model before, but still I have to say, it does look pretty good, in my opinion. Here's a little look on the Space Marines Terminators, or whatever they're called. I'm not a 40k expert, as you can tell. And these were, they were very vibrant and very colorful, but they lacked shading. So Nicholas wanted me to take care of his 11 of these as well. First thing I had to do was to put that IPA alcohol to good use, and I did a test with one Space Marine and one of the Genestealers. That worked out pretty nice, so the only thing left was to bathe all of those 20 Genestealers. I have to say, it looked quite disgusting. As you can see, all of the paint is slowly coming off. But unfortunately, when you're stripping minis, usually even though you're using a 99% alcohol, you're gonna have to, use some elbow grease. So for me, that meant bringing out the toothbrush and giving them a good sort of brushing. Sometimes I even had to actually use my hobby knife just to sort of get into all of the nooks and crannies. Eventually, I got all of the 20 additional Genestealers up to the same level as the previous ones. So let's continue. After the base coating of Bugman's Glow, I'm coming in with some pale flesh and dry brush this onto all of the fleshy bits. Now, an idea I had was to make these Genestealers ever so slightly different from each other. So here I'm going to be using 4 actually types of washes. I'm going to be using reichlin Flesh Shade for 10 of them. Other 10 are going to get Druki Violet. Now another 10 are going to get Agrax Earth Shade. And then finally Fuegen Orange for the last 10. Here you can see the colors I chose to put on my wet palette in order to paint all of the claws and teeth and nails. As you can see, I start out with Rhinox Hide, then I come in with some Mournfang Brown, and then I start mixing some of that Xandri Dust and Mournfang Brown, creating a mid shade, and then I essentially just go higher and higher and higher in highlight. And for the absolute highlight, I'm using Off-White from Vallejo, which I feel is a good color to create additional mixes with. Eventually, we'll have something that looks something like that. Here you can really see all of the different color shades in their skin, and I do think that it gives that little well-needed variation. Now for the final bit, we're going to be using some Off-White, some Inktensity ink, some Screamer Pink, and some Matte Black. I'm going to start out with the trickiest bit, which is to just penciling in the eyes with some of that Off-White. Then I'm going to come in later on and add some yellow ink. While I have some white on, I'm going to do the teeth as well. Here I'm coming in with some Screamer Pink for the tongue, and I'm mixing that with some Off-White in order to get a highlight. And finally, some yellow ink for the eyes, and then painting the base black. Alright, it's time to turn our attention towards these Space Marines Terminators. Are they called Space Marine Terminators, by the way? You tell me. So, I spoke to Nicholas a lot about the paint scheme. He did want one of them to look like Blood Angels, and he wanted the other one to look like Ultramarines. Now, again, I'm not very well versed into 40k or Space Hulk, but I took the same kind of models and I essentially put them into an IPA bath. And as you can see, I did this well before time. You can see there in the background, lots of uncompleted Genestealers. I knew that these were going to have a little bit harder time to, get all the paint off, simply because they seem to have much more nooks and crannies. And in the beginning, I'll be honest, I didn't think these were very detailed models, but as I cleaned them, I to my joy realized that they were actually pretty darn detailed. Once that was done, I simply made them ready for priming. And similar to the Genestealers, I primed these with Chaos Black. And again, I'm coming in with some of that white ink, just to create a nice zenithal prime on all of these models. Now for the Ultramarines, I decided to go with dark Prussian blue from Vallejo Model Color. This worked kinda nicely, I would say, to define the shadows, but at the same time just let it tint the upper parts of the model. For the Blood Angels, I went with Burnt Red from Vallejo Model Color. This I shot from below, and then I came back in with some Mephiston Red and shot that from the top. That gave it that nice little round sort of reddish color. And here we can see all of the different models in their base coats. Now to start detailing these models, I started out with painting all of the areas that would be metallic with a black undercoat. At the same time, since I had black on the brush, I might as well paint all of the details that were gonna actually be black as well, such as the tubes and whatnot. Now for the sergeant, I painted his shoulder pads black as well. And it was at this time I also remembered to drill out some holes for all of the weapons. And here I can always come in with a little bit of Mephisto red just to sort of tighten that paint job up. For all of the bone colored bits I come in with some sandry dust. This I highlight with some Minoth white highlight. Time to look at that chest emblem thingamathing. It's called something, but I can't remember what it's called. I went in with some Retributor armor. I actually tried Vallejo's metal colors, but I didn't find it to be warm enough. Here I'm going to come in with some orange-red on all of the Blood Angels just to do some edge highlighting. And here the funny thing is that a thin brush can really save your work. Now I'm going to come in with some cold gray for the sergeant and his shoulder pads. Now for all of those bits that I previously painted in gold, I'm gonna wash them with some reichlin fleshy just to sort of bring out that nice warm color. Once that had dried, I come back in with some bright gold from Army Painter just to highlight some bits of those signias or whatever they're called. Now all of the bone bits I start washing with Seraphim Sepia, and I do the same thing with the, I think they're called Purity Seals. Now for the Ultramarines, and this unfortunately I didn't have footage of. He wanted them to have white skulls, so I of course, or white heads, so I painted that. And their gloves had a sort of construction pattern on them, which I free-handed, but I missed to show you that, or to record that. He even went as far, Nicholas, to order some nice decals, which I also had to learn how to put on for the first time. And I think at this point, it's time to have a look at the final result. Alright folks, that was this job done. My goal with this paint was very much to get them tabletop ready as soon as possible, enabling Nicholas to faster get into some games of Space Hulk. On that subject, Nicholas has made some amazing looking terrain out of Lego. I'm gonna link to his Twitter account where you can see more shots of this amazing terrain. You also saw parts of it at the end of the video because he did actually send me some just to show you guys. So what did you think about the video? Have you done any commissions to friends in need lately? If you have, then please tell me in the comment section down below. I also want to take this opportunity to just show you quickly the minis that I got from Nicholas. These are really old school minis from the early 90s. A lot of models come from Heritage, Grenadier, and Games Workshop. And I'm gonna have a field day painting some of these up. So with that, I want to thank you so much for watching, and I want to wish you an awesome day. Thank you, Niklas.